was this Jimmy? Who you talking about? Jimmy something? Jimmy Witherspoon? Or
Nobody knew who he was.
Lewis.
Jimmy.
Who's this Jimmy? Jimmy.
Lewis.
Jimmy.
Who's this Jimmy?
Jimmy
Jimmy.
Lewis.
Who's this Jimmy?
Lewis.
Who's this Jimmy?
Jimmy Lewis.
It just kept on doing it.
Now, welcome to Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. You thought your speakers weren't working, didn't you? You were pushing buttons and turning the volume up. Well, if you think you don't know how to push buttons, you should watch me. So this is Tech Talk Taco Tuesday, episode number 258. There's really no reason that we should do this show 258 times, I don't think, other than to answer your motorcycle and motorcycle product related questions. This is the show where your questions will determine the length of tonight's show, because I don't have much prepared. I was riding the 2026 Yamaha YZ450, and since we can't talk about that till Monday, I shot the video of it, and I was thinking about doing it just to see if anybody watches this thing, see if we can get embargoed. But yeah, the best way to start the show to get your attention is to turn the volume off. And now it's coming up in the chat. So good, thanks everybody for joining in that is watching us live. What else did I do today? I stole a hat. I got a hat today. I borrowed it because the owner of the hat wanted me to wear the Moto XXX hat when I did my impression of the Yamaha, and he had to get moving, so he left and drove away without his hat. So I've stole it. And he was gonna come on the show potentially, but that doesn't seem like it's gonna happen, because he got home and he texted me and he said, I'm hitting the couch, which means he's probably asleep right now. So he's sleeping through this exciting episode. A couple other things to catch up on. I rode the new 2026 Yamaha Tenere today. Scott has it and took it up to Colorado to go do a little adventure riding, and he needed a few more photos and some video shot of it, so I hopped on and did some burnouts and pop-a wheelies and a couple of those things, and I was pretty impressed. I mean, rode it for a pretty short time, but if you watch our very first video impression of that bike, or actually even the test, the things I complained about, the number one thing was like the foot pegs. They had these little teeny tiny foot pegs, and because of where the clutch cover was, it kind of made your legs bulge. And now they've fixed that, and they've done a lot of things. They slimmed up the tank, they put a better display on it, there's some more features with different traction. You can alter the traction control. I don't think, of all the bikes in the world, that one does not need traction control. They have done some stuff to the suspension. From what I can tell, it worked pretty good. I've got mine set up really good, and I have some TourTech suspension on mine, and I was kind of reluctant to switch it because the stock stuff is actually pretty good. I have a clicker setting that works out well on that bike, and this one they did pretty good. I was at Glen Helen riding it kind of on the road in the back, and there was some works race course that was still pretty chewed up, and I went and rode through there and rode some of the back, kind of the stuff in the hills, and for a quick little impression, I was pretty good. We will not be having a Rooster Endo tonight because someone didn't prepare, but I will be having tonight, just for you, for me, Loma Azul Reposado. This is one of my favorites here. No, I'm not polishing it off tonight, but this is pretty good. So I'm going to just put a little bit down here. Let me know what you're having with your tacos tonight, besides a little tech, and throw some questions up in the chat. Hopefully we can get to those as soon as possible. I think the stream is actually working pretty good because we're not dropping stuff. We are running off the Starlink that's on top of my truck, and I have no idea how long that's going to last. So that could cancel this show quicker than you. So glad that I got the sound working, Asherlito. Thanks for letting me know. And of course, Victor let me know, and then he probably just hung up the phone. So No tequila this evening, says Mark Daniels. That's a real shame because this is, wow. This glass, I don't know if you can see this, but this glass is, yeah. Check that out on the screen. And so we're looking at a glass that's kind of formed in a parallelogram. I didn't notice it because when I saw it, it was nice and straight like this. But then I turned it sideways. It has my wife's initials on it. So maybe she was a little tipsy. But anyways, a parallelogram glass, very nice, fine sipping tequila. So again, a question-based show. Where else do you get to have someone that has a couple of ideas about things, answer your questions live on the internets? You know, whether it's a bike setup question, it's a how should I rebuild this? Should I modify that? I can answer 9 out of 10 questions without referring to a reference manual, and I don't even need a co-host. Even though I tried to get the guy that used to own this hat to come on and talk about ripping his CR125 and also a Suron. So I saw him. I saw him riding it, and I've heard he's ridden it more than once, so we know what we say. Let's hit right to the questions. Ashley Luda says, do you think the gears will come to electric dirt bikes in the future? Now I'm the electric dirt bike guy. Okay, I see if I would have had this co-host, he could weigh in because him and his other buddy Jibber J, who was on the show last time, who, by the way, made some insane carnitas tacos. If you didn't see it, you probably could smell them on the podcast. So do you think gears will come to electric bikes in the future? He says, electric Porsches already have 2-speed transmission. I imagine gears would help keep the battery temp down and improve range. So a long time ago, I had ridden a electric bike. It was more like the Suron size, like small play bike, motorcycle sized electric bike that had a transmission in it. And it worked pretty good. In fact, I liked it for the gears because back then the controller was so poor. Like the way the power controller, the way the throttle fed the power controller was so poor, and the bikes were all torque, and then they would just start going flatter and flatter. Luckily, with the current blend of electric bikes, they're able to, control the power a little bit more, control it better. But I can see where a transmission would help because then, and I suspect you would want to have a clutch with it. Maybe to ease shifting of gears, because I'm just thinking in my head out loud right now, like when you shift, could you get it to pause in order to shift? I'm sure that somebody smarter than me would figure this stuff out, but the fact that electric motors make so much torque at such low RPMs, I think gearing could really, really help. And then you would be able to make it work. So I'm pretty sure somebody's going to try it. They're already trying like electronic clutches on them. Somebody we were talking about with the Stark and stuff like that. But for the smaller play bike ones, I think you're trying to keep it simple. And with the batteries being so heavy, adding the weight of a transmission, I don't think is at the right time. We have that Can-Am Origin right now that we've been riding, and that is fast. The range isn't that good, and the problem is when you hop on something that's that quick and that fast, you start having fun with it, and there goes your range. So I'm working a little bit more to get a real estimate. I'm trying to to stop having so much fun by twisting the throttle and just kind of go for normal rides. But every time I get on it, I put it in eco, and I'm like, I'm just going to run this battery on eco the whole time. And I'm like, I'm not riding this thing. I'm riding this thing because I like having fun. I know it's my job to be testing it, but I'm like, forget it. I'm going to just twist the throttle and let it spin up and do all the things that it does. So that's what I'm sure somebody will figure this stuff out. with the electric, and maybe that way you can use smaller motors, lighter motors, and the transmission would do it. But it'll be interesting. Mark Schneider says, "What are you using for two-stroke pipe protection? Skill and no protection, a wrap style and skid plate combo." So most of the time I use skill and no protection. I have used the E-line carbon protectors a lot of times when I was doing kind of, I would say that was kind of pre-extreme enduro, and I was using those because they were really helping with like the random rock hits, and like rocks from flying up, getting roosted, or the kind of the little bit of the tip overs. They were allowing the pipe to keep its shape and form. And then when I started getting into the more extreme enduro stuff, the pipe protector didn't allow the pipe to crush when you really hit something, and it would transfer a lot of that force into the mounts and to where the pipe goes up into the cylinder. And I'd seen a few other people break the cylinders. In fact, last week on the show, when we took the KTM 300, my KTM 300 apart, which I should probably explain a little bit more later. When we took that apart, I showed you that flange that I have bolted onto the outside of the exhaust port. But no, I don't run a pipe cover, pipe protector. Try not to hit stuff. But I'll tell you that a lot of those guys are running the cages around the pipes that are connected to the skid plate. And the reason for that is that way when it hits it not trying to rip the pipe off, it's transferring the load into the skid plate. And I think that it's overkill. It's a lot. I mean, I first started seeing those in South Africa because they had a hard time getting pipes, and they were really expensive. So these guys were doing anything they could to protect their pipes. And then I saw it kind of spread over here. A few people started making them over here, and then I noticed that the guys that were putting them on, they were either the same guys that wore a shit ton of body armor, and they're just trying to protect everything, and for almost no reason because they didn't ride that way. And then there's the guys that put them on because they just want to ghost ride their bike everywhere. And they would, it just looked like they might as well just take a sledgehammer to their motorcycle and do that. I would suggest that they spend that money on a riding lesson, and they would probably do a lot better. But and this is a drunken glass. That's a good comment, Victor. It's I'm not there yet. So, anyways, and Victor also says, so testing bikes for you is like a gyno at work, or do you really have fun testing? What? I don't know that word. You're gonna have to educate me on that one, Victor. I'm still learning these things. So the good thing is the chat is working, so you can ask your questions in the chat. If you're listening to this in the future, which is the past for us, you can also type your questions in the chat of whatever forum you are watching on, whether it's Facebook or whether it's YouTube. We will go through those questions. We always harvest them before the show, when I actually prep for the show, which would be every other show except for this particular one. And we answer them. So you will get the answer to your question eventually. You can have it instantly right now when you watch us live, which is typically on Tuesday night, typically 7 p.m. Pacific time. Sometimes we go live at 6. Sometimes we do other things because it's my show and I can do whatever I want. But other than that, I actually really have fun testing. I had a lot of fun testing the YZ450 at Glen Helen today. And I can't tell you about it till Monday because they've embargoed us. But I will tell you that Yamaha is a sponsor of Dirt Bike Test and this show. So thank you to Yamaha for helping us out. and for having us out today. The bike is available now in dealers. I was really surprised because they talk so much about embargoes. Not embargoes. They talk so much about tariffs and that the prices were going to be up. And they weren't really sure when they were announcing these bikes originally. And it went to the point where it's really not that bad. I think it was 10.9 or 10.4. I saw the prices, but we also talked about the Tenere prices, which I know is 10.9. I think the YZ450 was 10,300 is what the retail is, and then the white and red one, which is also available, is a couple $100 more. So Billy Birch says hello. Hello. You know that there's a slight delay between when I see the messages kind of come through and then when you actually see it, it's a couple minutes behind. So anyhow, so back to the thing. Ask your questions. We'll get you answers. I am pretty sure that we have a few from our YouTube videos from last time, but I wanted to explain something. So last week we had a horrible show. It was the first time ever that we've had any technical difficulties on this show where things were cutting out and the internet was dropping. So that live show was deleted everywhere. It came across as 5 or 6 different videos on like our FaceTube channel, whatever it is. So we deleted them all off. I went back. When we do this, we actually record the whole thing. I went back and edited it and put it up. So it's available now on both podcast and on YouTube. We don't have it on Facebook. I probably should repost the link to the video on Facebook, but that would require me going on Facebook. I do that every once in a while. So you ask the questions, we do the answers, but on that particular video, it was done from the shop, and it was my KTM 300, my 2019 KTM 300 that has a lot of hours on it, and I've completely lost track now because I got confused on the last show, and that wasn't from the Carnitas Tacos. I promise. But what did happen was in a previous episode, somewhere in the winter, somewhere in December or January, we also tore that bike apart. We pulled out an 80-hour Vertex piston, and then we also did a rebuild video that I don't think got posted anyplace. In the pulling apart of the bike last week, I took it apart because something wasn't exactly right. I started feeling it wasn't starting as nice. It didn't sound as good. There's a little bit of throttle response. Like, well, maybe the piston's bad. And I knew kind of the hours that were on it, and I knew it was way above where it said that there was a Vertex piston because there was a sticker on the side of the bike. Because what I do is when I put a new piston or a new part in, a lot of times I make a note physically on the bike. Well, since I did it on the show the last time and I was a little distracted, I never put that I had placed a Pro X piston in the bike. So I took the Vertex out and I put a Pro X in because I like testing different things to see how long they last, if they are what they're cracked up to be. If there's problems with it, I figure if they're not good, I'll find out. So I'm doing it on my own stuff. So we pulled the Pro X out, and I'm pretty sure it had 50 hours on it because when we pulled that piston out, it looked really good. But the other thing that happened was we were trying to get the spark plug off, and we couldn't find the 21 millimeter wrench. Amazing. In the last video, when I went back and watched to kind of correct myself, to relearn, we couldn't find the 21 millimeter wrench then either. So obviously my 21 millimeter wrench has been missing now for about 6 months. Shows how much I use it to take spark plugs out. And so we were cranking on this thing. We ended up having to get a big giant monkey wrench and really give it a tug, and it finally broke loose. And I said, I'll bet you this is the stock spark plug, and I've never taken it out because I don't remember cranking on it that much. Well, obviously I did. and I had pulled the cylinder head off, because even in that video I said I don't think I've taken the cylinder head off because I can't remember everything. Kind of like anytime I'm on this show, I can't remember what I do on the show. I'd have to go back and watch it. So hence I went back and watched what I did. Okay, that I did take the Vertex out. I put this Pro X in. Now I'm looking at a Pro X, and we pulled that spark plug out last week. The gap was massive. That's what was causing the problem. The piston was still in really good shape, and still, because I've been busy, I haven't put my feeler gauges in there and measured it. I haven't popped the rings off and measured everything to see what 50 hours did to it. The poor person, Jimmy, would stick that piston right back in there and run it for another 30, 40, 50 hours. No problem. As long as it measures out okay. But the way it looks and the way the cylinder works, I would throw it right back in. But Jimmy that doesn't have enough time is going to go and try to get a Wiseco piston, because I haven't used a Wiseco 2-stroke piston for a while. I'm going to try to get a Wiseco piston and put it in there and then run it through its paces again with a new spark plug this time that's properly torqued. So just in case you were wondering what happened, go back and watch that. That's episode 257. It's up on the YouTubes right now, or you can listen to it on all the podcast platforms. And if you have questions, and when you listen to us goofing around in there, we had a really good time enjoying some tequila and some tacos that Jibber J, my buddy, made. And of course, Big John was in there, and he was asking really good questions, getting me to lay down some answers, and that was good. So, Asher Lito says, thoughts on the Marine KOH Johnson Valley plan that's going on right now? I'm a little confused on what it is about. So, let me explain it the best I can. So, the Marines, the U.S. military, the Marines, want to expand their base at 29 Palms. They tried this about, 8-10 years ago. I don't remember. It was back when I was putting on King of the Motos. They tried to expand the base and take over all of the open area that's used for motorcycle competition racing. They didn't succeed. They wanted the whole thing, and they ended up getting 1/3 of what they wanted. And they ended up, the agreement was there was a shared use area that they can close down 2 times a year, and there's big events like the King of the Hammers goes on out there, and a lot of desert racing goes on out there. But for 2 times during the year, the Marines shut it down. They go in there, they do whatever exercises and stuff they do, and then they leave, and then it's open back up to the public. That's not what they wanted. In fact, what we're pretty sure they want is the water that's underneath the ground mainly. And there's also, in my personal opinion, there's a little bit of a, for lack of a better term, a penis length contest going on between base commanders. Like, my base is bigger and badder than yours, and I can do whatever I want. Don't know if that's true, but that's kind of what I think. Now, I support our military and all that stuff, but they've got a lot of land out there, and what they're looking for now, the way they're poking the bear, is they're trying to close down the airspace above the hammers, and that's like step 1. This is something that they've done in a lot of other areas where they've closed the airspace off first, and then they've started using control of the ground. So it's just, they didn't succeed last time. They're trying again. They're trying a new program. They're going to try to figure stuff out. It's not good for the OHV community. I don't believe that that anything good can come from this. And the short-term thing is, if they get this, if they say, oh, it's just the airspace, what do we care? Well, during races and stuff, there will be no medevac anymore. You can't fly over there. I mean, the commercial pilots, or the private pilots in general, just like pissed off. They're losing their airspace like we lost our ground. So they don't like it. And it makes a bigger thing that they have to fly around. There's already a very restricted airspace in this area. Anyways, they want more. You can't fly drones. You would never be able to fly drones at the races and stuff like that. So they're just trying to peck away at that and try to get it back. I think it's for the water. I don't know. Because I know there's water underneath there, and where that base currently is, there's not much water. So, like they say, There's things. Oh, look at my buddy here who was going to come on the show. He's finishing up washing his Suron right now. So I don't know if how it works. I might just call him and put him on the speakerphone and see how this works to start with, because I don't know if I can push enough buttons to keep the show live and invite him. James F. McNeil says, first time watching from Facebook. Is it too late to submit for tonight's Rooster Endo? Well, James, hate to say it, but I canceled Rooster Endo tonight because I didn't do my homework and prep. So you should send it in. I think someone did send it in this week, but when I looked at my emails, so you email it to jimmy@dirtbiketest.com, you put Rooster Endo in the subject line, and I looked at my emails, and I looked at the picture, and I go, I've seen that this week. But when I looked at my email it to jimmy@dirtbiketest.com, you put Rooster Endo in the subject line, and I looked at my emails, and I looked at the picture, and I go, I've seen that bike before. So we just froze up for a second there. The one bike that was submitted took a little bit of I don't know. I thought I'd seen it before. So, by the way, Rooster Endo is brought to you by Moto. That's tacomoto.co, not com, .co. And Moto has been a sponsor of Rooster Endo from the beginning. They want to help us put Rooster Endo on, and they want you to buy more stuff from them. So go to tacomoto.co to get parts for your bike. And if you're wondering how Rooster Endo works, you send us a picture of your bike, we discuss it, and then we pick a winner. So, yeah, too late for tonight, because you have to get it in at least a half an hour before the show so I can prep it, which I did 0 of for the show. Bobby Coleman says, if you had to replace your 1090R fuel pump and filter, which product would you pick? Factory or other equipment manufacturer? So let's just eliminate this from just only the 1090 discussion. KTM 1090R, let's just open it up to any fuel pump. Which one would I pick? It depends on which Jimmy is perusing the internets and how cheap or rich I feel and how much I need to depend on that particular fuel pump. So I am leaving to go down and ride in Baja over the next couple days to verify the road books for the Nora Mexican 500. And the last time I was down there, my stock fuel pump on my KTM 500 failed, and I put in a fuel pump that I got from Rocky Mountain. I believe it's their house brand. I believe it's like a Tusk fuel pump that's in my bike. I put it in down there. It worked perfect. Guess what's still in my bike? And that's a bike I'm going to depend on to actually go down there and do work. When you look at it, it looks exactly the same. I haven't torn one apart because I've never had one fail. I have not heard of people telling me that things fail. I've had products from them be substandard. And I've had stuff that's really... And I don't know if it's just a reboxed or rebranded one that's coming from... There's 2 or 3 other companies that sell them. Moto, by the way, sells really high-end replacement fuel pumps when they're in stock because they seem like they're always gone. So it's really... It comes down to, how important is it to you and how much do you trust the where you're getting it from. A lot of these times, you've heard this before, stuff is produced in the same factory. The OE manufacturer. And you've heard before, and whether it's true or not, like, when they have seconds, that's what goes to all these other houses. I doubt that. I mean, that may have happened once or twice in certain things, but for the most part, the stuff that companies are selling, think about it. You're running a company. You don't want to put a bad product because it's not going to take long. You start shipping out 4 or 5 bad ones, and that news will hit. Bad news travels fast. This stuff gets on the internet, and everybody basically starts, bad mouthing it. And that's why you kind of have to filter it. Like anything, one bad news, it's like that's all people want to talk about. And so when someone has something that fails, especially when it's a lesser brand, all these guys just want to beat down on you and say, "Hey, this is junk." And they take the one that they saw and they repost it, and it gets reposted. "Hey, did you hear? This failed. Did you hear that? This failed." And it spirals. I don't think these companies are trying to sell junk. They are trying to, have price point stuff because that stuff sells. I mean, Rocky Mountain is a very good example of, taking, for lack of a better word, the original product and knocking it off. Do you want to? And my take on this is always the same. So I bought the Tusk fuel pump for one reason and one reason only, and I have two of them, by the way. I just put one in another KTM 500, brand new tank. I got a new tank for a KTM 500, and I had my spare one that usually is in my truck, and I stuck it in that tank just because I wanted to get that bike running with a bigger tank, and I haven't had time to go and order another one. So now I'm running two of them, and I'm running them so when somebody asks me in 3 years, "Hey, are these things, can I go with these things?" And I'll be able to say yes or no based on my experience. The reason I don't have very many fuel pump failures, and the one that was in the bike that I'm talking about that went away, and I pulled the pump apart, and it's hard to see where it went bad. Like there's the little vein in there, and I think it was just, we're talking thousandths of wear on it. I don't dump dirt in my gas tank. I very rarely get dirt in my gas tank. I've only had to replace filters on one or two of them, and it was because the plastic on them corroded or cracked or hard rotted, not because they plugged. And it's been since my Husaberg, I think, is the only bike I've ever plugged a fuel injector on. But down in Mexico on this bike that I replaced on, we had some bad gas, and it did plug my Golan fuel filter, which is a larger, it's actually a zip tie fuel filter that replaces the insert. So where they connect together, it's a filter and the connector. And I'd plugged that a few times, and it was funny because the day before it happened to another guy I was riding with, and then the next day it happened to me. So it was obviously the gas. Mine just was probably a little bit cleaner to start out with. So you can't go wrong necessarily with factory stuff. I mean, it's just because it's going to fit. It's coming from hopefully the same place. And if you were satisfied with the durability you got out of the stock one, then go ahead and use that one again. If you're looking for a price point one, go ahead. If you're looking for aftermarket, do your research. I'm sure that you can find on forums, on wherever it is, you can go to a forum and you can see everybody talking about that. Type what you're looking for and something into a respectable forum, and you'll probably get some information. So that's what I would do. I have not had to replace any of my KTM 1090 or 1090 1190s. I have two of those. Fuel pumps and filters. So I don't put, generally in all honesty, my adventure bikes don't get a ton of mileage on them because I have a few of them and I don't necessarily ride them all that much. It's not like it's my only bike. So I'm not a really good person on certain things. There's certain bikes that get a lot of mileage, the KTM 500 specifically, because I'm using them so much for just doing so many different things. Some of the, my KTM 300 definitely has been getting a lot of mileage on it lately, and I've been riding my WR450 quite a bit. So those are the bikes that are getting the time put on them right now. So, yeah, ask your questions live in the chat and you will get an answer tonight. I'm going to go over to the YouTube comments right now, and then I'll come back and check the chat here. So on YouTube, which I've switched the screen over to right now, these are the questions that we get on our videos. So there's a few in here, and I'll go ahead and read through them. Some of our popular videos are the KLX 300 versus CRF 300 dual sport shootout. And Bobby EV2 says, any good at 6'1" and 190 pounds. Looking for off-road in Pennsylvania. Soft terrain in general. A newer rider, but I enjoy pushing the limits within reason. Also, do I want to learn on a bike that can't hill climb, handle mud, or shale? Okay, so at 6'1", 190 pounds, you are plenty tall, if not almost too tall, for these bikes. They will not fit you stock. The Kawasaki probably better than the Honda in my opinion. But anyways, yeah, I understand the terrain in Pennsylvania, but a bike that can't hill climb or handle mud or shale, these bikes can handle that. You would be really, really surprised at where either of these bikes would go. And just because it's a 300 doesn't mean you need a BMW 1200 to climb a hill, because that won't work out any better. At your size, I would be looking at something more in the you're obviously looking at dual sport bikes. Unfortunately, Yamaha doesn't make a good dual sport bike. They don't really make them. They have adventure bikes. They just seem to leave that market alone. I would be looking at like a KTM 350 in all honesty, or maybe a Beta 390, something like this. And as a newer rider, you can sort of grow into the bike. I'm not big in growing into the bike, but at your size, you're not going to probably grow that much more. And I think you would be better off there. What does Google want me to say? At that size, you'd be fine, but you might consider beefing up I don't know what it's going to tell you. Those bikes are capable, but consider your long-term goals. Why do you need me? I should just click one of those buttons and answer your question. Back to the chat, and right now, James F. McNeil says he has a 18 Husky with a Magura, bought it used. Front brake has always been mushy and soft. He rebuilt the master cylinder with all balls equipment and every type of bleed, gravity, syringe, etc. Is the nature of this brake system, or should I change the hose with no visible kinks? So, every type of bleed. So if you rebuilt the master and everything's airtight, so couple things. You have to make sure when you rebuild it, you want to make sure everything's clean. I'm suspecting you did that. You want to make sure the calipers are moving. I have seen on bikes before bent where the brake caliper carrier is bent, where the disc rotor could be bent. Disc rotor bends quite often, but it's usually easily detectable because the wheel kind of stalls out inside of when it's spinning around. But I've seen the caliper carrier bend. I've seen the calipers have been hit, and all of a sudden a piston seizes up, and that causes it to be mushy. I have seen the fork attachment bend, and it's every time you have to squeeze it, it has to flex. So I would take a very close look at that to make sure everything's straight and lined up. That is one of the things. It shouldn't be that hard or any different to bleed. The Magura stuff, it's solid, and I think it's some of the better stuff. And in fact, I do like the Magura stuff. The Brembo might be Are you sure it's Magura? It's not Brake Tech. I don't know. I can't remember. Brake Tech, Magura brakes. Interesting. Okay. I'm just trying to remember. It's too many things in my head. But it doesn't matter whether it's Magura or Brembo or Brake Tech for that matter. They all seem to bleed out just fine. And a lot of times if you just give it time, so in other words, what I like to do is just start keeping the reservoir full, let your lower opening be open, and pour it down until it starts coming out, and then shut it off and let it sit overnight. The air will try to rise back up. At that point, you can try pumping it up. And if you can make it so that the hose doesn't go up, so the air doesn't stop in the top, so it kind of goes all the way down. And then I use a system of when I can finally get some pressure built up in there, I use a system of back bleeding. The one other thing I'll finish with is I have seen people that have their brake adjusted to a point where in the master cylinder, the piston doesn't open up far enough. So in other words, like I said in the beginning, it might be not clean. The same thing, if that piston doesn't open all the way up, and I've seen people put the wrong lever on there and that causes it, or the adjustment is out of whack and the piston can't open, so the fluid doesn't flow down. When you backflow it, you can sometimes pump it back up with the syringe and it'll push past that piston and get back up there, but you pump it once or twice and then there's no new fluid going back in there. So these are the things I think could be part of your problem, and hopefully I've answered that. If I have answered that question, you should send me a new bottle of tequila. Tonight's Loma Azul. We're having a little bit of this stuff. Again, thanks to my hat sponsor, Moto XXX. You remember them? They had a wild and crazy motocross racing team. We don't talk about that stuff. But anyways, Jordan was going to come on the show. I should just give him a call right now, and I'll see if he picks up the phone. How does this work? It works like this. I'll see if I can put him on speaker and let him know he's live on Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. But between that, I'm probably going to go to potentially another question on the YouTubes. On our 2020 NMF. Jordan Burns, you are live on Tech Talk Taco Tuesday, the most exciting motorcycle technical show on the internet that's happening right now. Well,
I mean, you know what? You called the right guy because I am super technical.
Okay. Well, you were out at Glen Helen today. You were Suroning it up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe you were out in public on that thing because I try to ride my electric bikes in private.
Yeah, well, you know, the thing is I'm not scared, and Charlie Kirk told me it's cool, so I'm all good with it, and I'm not afraid. And people kind of trip when I'm on the main track on that thing, going, "What the hell?" You know, I mean, you tried to pass me, and yeah.
I did not pass you on the Suron.
Oh, I was on the 125.
You were on the 125, and you're also on your buddies. I saw you doing a lap or two on your buddies. What is it, a 450 or a 350?
That's a 350 KTM, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like.
I was doing a test ride on the KTM 350.
Yeah, I was doing a test ride on a Yamaha YZ450F, the 2026 model. I can't talk about this, but how did it look?
It looked really good. Like, how did you look?
Yeah, we can go there. Like a vet rider.
I'm always impressed because, listen, we've known each other a long time, and you haul ass on a dirt bike still. I mean, you know, you're like the SoCal Mike Brown.
I want to be like Carson Brown, not Mike Brown.
Well, he has like, you know, 1 million followers. So, are you an influencer?
No. I provide solid information. I don't influence anybody. You're supposed to make your own decision on what I tell you.
Oh, right. Well, what are you telling me?
I remember watching Carson Brown at a mini moto race in Las Vegas cry because he couldn't just ride all the time. And I think he's still that way today. Have you seen the video of him?
I was like that with drums. You know.
If you couldn't beat your drums, you're out there, you're just sitting in the corner crying.
Just tears.
Yeah.
Full tears.
By the way, Jordan Burns is a punk rock drummer. He was one of the team owners of Moto XXX back in the day. You guys caused a lot of mayhem.
a lot of fun back in the day for sure.
Yeah.
Different times.
Yeah, and you were the drummer in Strung Out for a while. Well, let me see if
about 25 years.
yeah. What was the other band you were in? Let me try to guess here real quick. It was who? Why does the word Tool comes to mind, but it's not Tool. It was
It's close.
It's close.
P.
It's Pummel.
Close.
Pummel. It wasn't Pummel. It was
Pulley.
Pulley. That's right. I know my punk rock.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know what's up. We know that you got cred.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was as much of a punker as I am fast on a motorcycle, which isn't very good, but I went to a couple shows when I was a kid. So
that's not true. There's a reason. There is a reason why Yamaha calls you up to come and test their bikes.
Oh, because they want somebody that's not easily influenced to ride them and tell the world all about them. Right,
you're given the straight up information. If it's roach, it's a roach. If it's badass, it's badass.
Yeah, I'm a straight edge motorcycle tester.
Yeah, keyword straight edge.
So as I'm sipping down my nice tequila tonight out of a crooked glass, which I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyhow, so the other thing you rode was it's your CR125, yeah?
Yeah. It's I've had this bike forever. It's 2002, and it used to be one of Travis Preston's bike from his Doc Martin DeMartini days. We played a after party show in Las Vegas back in, I guess, 2002, I suppose, and at the Hard Rock, and part of our pay was 2 CR125s, and then we got the rest in cash. And I took a bike, and the guitar player took a bike, and the other 3 guys took the cash. And then our guitar player never rode it, and I ended up buying his bike for like $1,000 or something. And then I had two of them. Then I sold one, and I've kept this one the whole time.
Yeah, how does it run? Those are a little hard to jet.
I think it runs good, but when you talk about the jetting and stuff, listen, I was just on the phone with my master mechanic, best friend, Jim Stonehouse, who was the gnarly wrench of the valley until he moved to Idaho. And, I don't have anyone down here anymore that's the badass mechanic, but we do take it over to the Razor's Edge over there in Simi Valley, California. Shout out to Big J. And, so I don't do any jetting or nothing because I don't know shit. I ride it.
You just beat on drums.
But yeah, I beat on drums. I beat on drums.
Yeah. Yeah, and you plug your bike in, your other one.
The battery's out of it right now, ready for a charge.
Yeah.
But this isn't just some what is the word I'm looking for? It isn't some like lame Sauron. We got this thing all dialed in. I mean, it's got the
your wheels probably cost as much as that bike.
Dude, the wheels.
W.
I mean, shout out to W.
Yeah.
And the boys over at W, John and goddamn, what's his son's name again?
Son.
I'm.
Yeah, you. Hey, I'm worse at names than you are. I'm pretty sure.
Anyhow, they set me up with a nice deal and put these badass rims on here and hubs, and
you got the little gold. You got the little gold spokes.
Yeah, I got black spokes with gold nipples, black rims.
Yeah.
And I mean, they just look sharp, and they go with the rest of my bike. And I got the Warp 9 Fast Ace front suspension on there with the Warp 9 bars, and Warp 9 triangles, and I got these badass Warp 9 pigs on here.
Hey, so when
trick.
when all the kids are going to school, they're all riding their Surons to school and stuff. You hop out there and go profile.
Yeah, and I'm like, what up? What up?
Old dude with all this money, got this super sick Suron. Yeah.
Got to give the one more shout out to Thrill Seekers. I got the Luna seat on there with the Thrill Seekers custom seat cover with the Moto Triple X logos on there.
Yeah.
And that's all. And I got to give a shout out to Sunstar also. Got a 6 Sunstar sprocket on there. So yeah, it's really cool. Got the TRP brakes. And man, I was just motoing this thing
it sounds like a podium speech. Did you win today?
Obviously. Didn't you see them give me the checkers and then they're like, get off the track?
Dude, yeah, I grabbed the hat when you threw it out into the crowd.
You got it.
I want to know. I want to know how much I'm getting paid for wearing the hat on the show tonight and on the video for the YZ450 that's going to be up on Monday. If one of my helpers, is going to get it edited up.
Yeah, it's probably going to be like $1,000.
Great, got it. Hey, I got a question here. We like to answer the questions when they come up. We've been delaying. Mark Allen asks, I bought a new FE501 and checked valve clearance at 1 hour. Okay, I don't know why you did that, Mark, but we'll keep reading. Left intake measures at the very lower end of spec range. Should I do next check early or change the shim to more gap or just follow the schedule? Jordan, I know you're looking for a good mechanic, but we want to know what you think.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go get a cheeseburger at In-N-Out. That's pretty much what I think when I hear all that.
Okay, got it.
Did that help?
So I
Wait
think so because
Can
that's
we back this up? Can we back it up one here?
No, I think
Did you say this is for Mark Allen?
Mark Allen, yeah.
From where? Simi Valley?
I don't know. He doesn't say where. It's just Mark Allen.
Well, a good friend of mine is Mark Allen from Simi Valley.
See, he's trolling you right now. He's found out you're on the show. He wanted to ask you a technical question. Does he have a lot of spare time on his hand? Because I have no idea why you would check the valve clearance at 1 hour. First of all, I'm pretty sure an FE501 has some kind of a warranty on it. And so if something were to go wrong in the first, I don't know how many hours, 30 days, something like this, it's going to get warrantied. So just ride it and let the motor break in. Because those things, when you put a brand new motor together, all that stuff moves around a little bit. And if you're not racing this thing at a, built by a factory mechanic and you want it to ride, nobody's checking valves at 1 hour. Because you're going to go in there and you're going to change something and it's going to break in and move again and it's probably not going to be in the right thing. Those motors, that KTM 500 motor is nearly indestructible. And if you just change the oil when you're supposed to, which is not at 1 hour, run that thing for a few hours on that, even if it's break-in oil, run it for a few hours on that, change it, and don't check it for 40 more hours. I have KTM 500s that I've never checked.
I figure this, I don't think it's going to have really any effect on your Stanley bearings or the Knippler valves. So, I mean, you can probably attest to that.
Well, in my unfulfilled childhood fantasy of being the lead singer of a punk band, and I don't know the first thing about that, I think you should hit the hi-hat or something like that. We should go like that.
Oh, well, we could do that.
Yeah.
We could do that. It'll take.
Do you think that you could come up with a theme song for Tech Talk Taco Tuesday?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the pay rate?
The pay rate. Well, I bought unlimited use for this one song that we always put on here, and every single time they tag me for a copyright infringement. And I have to push like 20 buttons it's called some little jam called Open Sports. If you've listened to the show, you're probably familiar with it.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's pretty funny.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Mark Allen says the manual says to do the first valve check at 1 hour. Oh, that's one of those manuals that's written by lawyers. That's bullshit. Excuse my French. I'm really surprised that it says to do that, but I learn something new all the time, and I know that even on like magazine bikes that KTM had, they took them out and they'd break them in and stuff. They weren't pulling the valves. They weren't pulling the valve covers off and checking them. They just give them to us. And I don't. Yeah.
You know what? Another thing I'm learning here with all this tech talk is that two strokes are a lot more simple.
Yeah, but the four stroke's really not that difficult. You know, when I was a kid, I was pulling lawnmower engines apart, and I didn't know what a two-stroke or four-stroke was. I mean, I ported my XR80 head with the whole motorcycle still together. I just put the Dremel tool in there and spun it around inside the port, just because I heard porting gave you more power. I read it in a magazine. I didn't really think that you had to take it off the motorcycle, but yeah, you can learn a lot on this show.
I'm learning.
Yeah.
I'm learning.
Yep. I wish I had more time today because I really wanted to ride your CR125.
I would have really liked for you to do that because there's times where I've let other people ride it, like say Colin Scummy Morrison, you know, and he gets on it and he's all, dude, there's something up with this bike. I used to ride a 125 in all my freestyle events back in the day, and this thing is a slug. And I'm like, I don't know, it feels fine to me.
What?
He's all, there's no bottom end, bottom end.
What year is it?
Like, 2002.
Yeah, there's no bottom end.
So it's just a fact.
It's just kind of, that's just that they Honda really struggled for a few years with their CR125s, and it was like, you know, you're just always chasing jetting and or ignition timing and all kinds of weird stuff, different spark plugs, different, you know, and then you get into all the porting and everything like that. I rode one at Mammoth one year. God, I'm trying to remember what year that was. It could have been around that time. And man, we spent a lot of time getting it running. And we ended up turning it into a Eric Krippa Barkmaster because he just wouldn't quit. He told me I could pull a whole shot on it. And back then I was light enough to do that. We had vents coming in and out of the ignition. We had tubes that went up, big hoses that went into the ignition to put cool air into the ignition, and all this crazy. I don't remember all the stuff we tested. But yeah, we should have 125 day. When we were at Dirt Rider, there was myself and Chris Barrett and Jonathan Belding and Ziegler and a few other guys. We all bought 125s, and we used to go out and have 125 day because it's so much fun when you and all your buddies all have those things. So they're all kind of slugs. But I've got a pretty sick 2005 YZ125 that has bottom end.
So, you know, I've been told that, you know, all the modern day two strokes, you know, like the Yamaha YZ125 is going to be so much easier to ride than, say, my 2002 CR125. You know, that being it fully modernized, like, it's just way easier to keep it on the pipe. It has more bottom end. But, you know, I'm not some great rider or whatever, and it's hard to keep it on the pipe or whatever. But you know, sometimes I go around the turns and
just
my CR like
six clutches, rah. Yeah, no,
yeah.
And sometimes they just get kind of fluttered up. It's like they kind of, you know, you go around the turn and it bogs, you know, it falls on its face and it just dumps fuel all over the place, and it's hard for it to clean itself back up. So it could be something as simple as like, and the bike's old enough now where it could reed valves, you know, new reeds could probably really do that thing some favors. Maybe cleaning the power valve. There could be something up with that sucker. I don't know.
Yeah, do you know how to do that stuff?
I have a professional help me. Yeah.
Nice.
I
If you do, I thought I was announced to drive out to Pahrump.
Hey, you come out to Pahrump. We'll throw that thing in the shop and we'll do a little tune on it. We can tune it up. I got a killer set of tools.
Hell yeah. Do you know Spicoli?
Oh yeah, actually, you know what's funny? I really do know Spicoli, the real Spicoli, not that Sean Penn character. Like I know it's not. I actually I know both. I know both Spicoli, the way the guy walks. I know that guy, and I met the guy who was the voice, the guy who talked like that Sean ripped those those traits off of.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a couple of my buddies. Yeah.
That's classic.
Yeah, is my one friend. If I ever, it's a guy I ride with all the time, my buddy Dave. If you ever watched him walk around and stuff, maybe not as much in his older years now, but you watched him walk around when he was in his 40s, and you're like, dude.
That's classic. Does he know anything about valves?
Valves, like on the KTM or the Husky 501.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does he know anything about valving?
Yeah. Valving, like in a shock.
Yeah, valving or jetting or.
Spicoli doesn't know that.
Oh damn.
So okay, so I'm expecting you to write the theme song for. It could just be like Tech Talk Taco Tuesday, F you. You know.
Do you think you can? Do you think you could put some lyrics together?
I actually have some lyrics from. You got to look this up. It's a guy named Hollywood Holt, and he has a song called "Throw a Kid on That Bitch."
All right.
Yeah, and I want to take those lyrics, and it's done. I don't remember the rapper. It's there's some D's on that bitch. It's whoever.
See, I wrote a theme song for. I wrote a theme song for Colby Raha, right? He wrote some lyrics up, and I got the lyrics, and I wrote this whole theme song for him for an introduction for his YouTube page.
Yep.
I put all the song together, hooked it up with the studio. We went into a professional studio, recorded the whole thing, got Andy Roy, the skater, to sing on it, and we put it all together. It came out fucking awesome with a killer mix, and then Colby never used it, and I'm like, what the fuck, man? We spent all this time doing it, and we put it together, spent money, and the song came out awesome. It's like 30 seconds, and he never used it. I really don't know why.
I would, if it's good, I would use it, but we collab.
It's lyrics that are pertaining to him,
Yeah.
like it's Raha, so it wouldn't necessarily, it could use some new lyrics maybe to go to the music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I know what we got.
Maybe you get in there.
We need a theme. Yeah, I could live my childhood fantasy of singing in a punk band. I try.
Just bring you back in there. I guide you through it, and you kind of scream through it, and
yeah,
it's Jimmy Lewis. This is how we do it.
Have you heard the beginning of this? Like, it doesn't show up on the YouTube post, but when we start live, I cut some stuff. I cut some stuff together back when I knew how to use whatever program I used to do some stuff. I kind of stole some stuff, but it doesn't get me tagged for copyright violation. But it's more. It's a song from. It's a Jimi Hendrix cover song that says Jimmy. It says the name Jimmy a few times, and where it says Hendrix, I changed it. I overdubbed on it and did some things. But no, we should work on this because this show is getting so popular. We're talking in the millions of views watching this. It needs its theme song.
What an honor it is for me to be on here tonight.
Well, you have no idea. There's
Right.
millions of people just on the edge of their seat, and now everybody's going to be looking for your latest next project. What's your?
Do you think I'm gonna do you think I'm gonna get any new followers, bro?
I don't know. Where do we follow you at?
Oh, come
Are
on.
you on? You're on. What was that place? MySpace, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
fuck yeah.
yeah. And what about
Yeah.
Bandcamp? Are you there?
Yeah, I remember this one time at band camp.
Okay, good. Yeah. So Ron Hart says 13 million followers. I think he's talking about right now. Yeah.
Either that or he's totally into Satan.
Well, no, that's the number 13. It's M. It's like what you have tattooed. It's what your celly tattoos on your side of your face, so that you know what you're down for.
Oh, right, and then you get a teardrop on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, so I got a question.
Yeah, so my followers, Moto Triple X Official on Instagram.
Moto Triple X Official on Instagram.
Yeah.
Maybe next show we'll talk about doing a little giveaway where somebody can get a cool hat like I have.
Yeah, that was a pretty sweet giveaway. That was a surprise for you today, right?
It was totally a surprise. I can't believe somebody gave me a hat. It did it's like probably the second gnarliest thing I've ever been given. Best thing ever. Mosquitoes are coming in the house.
I'm thinking about ripping off that design that you were wearing on your hat today. Motocross and pizza.
Oh yeah. That hat says ride dirt bikes and eat pizza. That's Jerry's design. That's a fuck you design.
Maybe I'll steal it and step it up a notch. Ride dirt bikes and eat pussy. Yeah.
Right out. Hey, okay, so the question is, if you what would Jimmy do? Oh, here we go. What would Jimmy do right after I got out of prison? If a bike falls in water, hydrolocks, and you don't have a spark plug removal tool? Enlighten us with your wisdom. Well, first of all, I would reach into my fanny pack because it's going to be a long day, and I would pull out my I don't have the spark plug wrench, so I'd pull out probably a beer and sit there and contemplate what I was going to do. And here's what I would do. And he said 4-stroke. I said, is it a 2-stroke or a 4-stroke? At that point, I would somehow put the bike in gear, and it's hydro-locked only in one direction. Okay? There's always going to be a little bit of blow-by on the piston or motion on the piston. So if it's on the compression stroke and it went up and it locked up, you can actually put it in gear and move the wheel, and that will cause you move the wheel in the backwards direction, so you're going to unwind the motor, and it's going to take it down, and then when it goes back up, it'll open up the intake valve, right? Yeah, because it's going compression. Yeah, it would open up the intake valve as you're spinning it backwards, and then as you spin it backwards, it open up the intake valve, and it would push some of the water out. And then as you keep turning it over, at that point, it would open up the exhaust valve. And at that point, I would work the wheel back and forth while the valves are open to get the majority of the water out. And if you can flip the bike upside down, that can be helpful, because that way it'll drain out and hopefully it'll go someplace. In the exhaust, it's hard because the exhaust usually goes out and down, so that likes to go in the motor. So when they're upside down, it likes to go back through the intake track. So you're going to try to get as much water out of it that way, and then you would put it back upright and carefully, run it through its stroke again. And if it locks up again, you go back and kind of do the back thing. You're basically just trying to get all the water out. And when you, picking it up, the water that's in the exhaust, or if you push it up, if your exhaust is open at that point, you can push the water up through the exhaust and out, and then it'll flow down. So there's ways out of that. So that's how I would do it. Does that sound good to you, Jordan?
I mean, I was listening in great detail, and it does sound like good advice, and what would happen if I got like really drunk one night or whatever, and I just didn't know what I was doing, and I accidentally peed in my gas tank. Like what would happen?
So you're asking this question for a friend.
Yeah, like just in case,
Because what kind of I always at that point
urination.
I wonder what kind of friends I have when that happens to me, and then I realize that I earned them.
Yeah, one's like Jay Middleton.
Yeah, he made some sick carnitas tacos. Yeah, really good carnitas tacos.
I've heard about
and
this.
and when I was saying sick, I'm not talking about how he felt the next day. I'm only talking about the carnitas tacos that we were eating during the show. The whole show got derailed by carnitas tacos. It was good. But God, urine in the gas tank. I think that decreases the compression. The good thing is if you're running ethanol gas, I think a lot of the urine will actually attach to the ethanol, and it'll actually separate out, which is a good thing. And that way it goes to the bottom. And if you put your petcock and urination and petcock go together, so you would put it on, and then you would drain it out, and then open up in the carburetor. I guess we're talking about a carbureted bike, or we're talking about fuel injected, because fuel injected is a whole carbs. Yeah, so because I know people only piss in carbureted bikes. I know how it goes. So I would drain out right out of the bowl of the carburetor, and then the it would connect, and the water and piss is heavier than gas, and it would come out first, and then you would probably notice that the piss coming out of the bottom of the carburetor doesn't smell like gas, but when it starts smelling like gas, then you would go ahead and shut it off. You'd be in good terms there.
Now,
but
see, people listening,
if you're confused,
this was a legit question.
If you're confused, you can always taste it, but I don't recommend that.
Right, jackass style. You can make a urine gasoline snow cone.
Yeah, we'll see you next year at Mammoth. We'll do some snowboarding. Okay, well, it seems like we're running out of questions in the chat. What other questions do I have that people have asked on our things? Let's see. If that's 7 days ago, I answered it last week. That's for sure. Yep, things are edited. And then Victor also says, just don't pee on a hot engine. The smell lasts for months. Is that?
No, Steve, that's really good advice.
Is that because it gets on your clothes? I don't know. Yeah, I try to avoid these kind of subjects most of the time, but I am here to answer all of your tech questions without.
Yeah, well, it's not very often that you have a punk rock drummer on here that rides dirt bikes and owns a punk rock motocross company, that is asking these, interesting questions.
Jordan, what is it with punk rock drummers and dirt bikes? So we have Smelly Eric, who I met also at a Supercross, and that guy's out racing works races now. He's retired, right?
Retarded?
Well, retired too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's what's in the other Jay's other buddy in Pennywise.
Oh yeah, Byron.
Byron.
He likes, yeah, we'll give it to him for a minute.
Yeah, he rides a dirt bike here and there.
Rory from No Use for a Name.
Yep.
Who else? Those are the big names.
Why? What is it with punk rock drummers and dirt bikes?
Well, I think Warped Tour was a big part of that. I mean, me and Smelly have always been into it from our early days of friendship. We've known each other a long time, 85, something like that. And we've always been into dirt bikes, and that's why me and Smelly came up with the idea of starting Moto Triple X together. And then, of course, Kurt Haller came on board and showed us the ropes of how to make videos, and that's where all that came from. But, yeah, I don't know. It's just a cool sport.
Yeah, it's just funny that drummers ride dirt bikes. It's kind of I was like, well, how come there's no like bass players that are all riding dirt bikes or something? What do they all skateboard or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know. There's probably some. We just maybe we can't think of it right off the top of our heads here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't
Right.
I don't really have very many brain cells left, so I'm trying to figure all this stuff out.
Yeah.
That was a question I always had. I always wanted to ask you that, and you gave me an answer, kind of like I did about peeing in the gas tank. I think.
Similar, I think. Maybe not as in depth, possibly, but we did our best here.
Hey,
So I'm curious, like with all your listeners, like how many of your listeners are they all old school kind of people? Like do they know Moto Triple X? Do they know the history of Moto Triple X, or never heard of it, or
I don't know. That's a good question for the chat. And Ron Hart says we're rounding up to the nearest million. Well, of course, you don't think that I waste my time on the little number that I'm seeing here. I know it's just like my financial statement where it says 237, and I know that that's not just $237. It's $237 million. It's just like when
I look at my financial statement, it just says filthy. I mean,
they don't have that number.
So I must have exceeded something.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, right on. I think I think we've exhausted our audience's need for question. Let's see. Asherlito says, I do not, as I was not born then. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to go to the YouTubes and search, like, what was your the Moto Triple X videos? What were the names of those ones?
Well, there was Moto Triple X one that was just one. Number two was Hellraisers, Moto Triple X Hellraisers, Moto Triple X 3, All For You. And those are my favorites. We only put out 6, but, if you don't know the history of it, you can go to our website, mototriplex.com, and click on complete history. And Steve Mathis, who was at the track today, did a very lengthy article about the history of Moto Triple X, because we started off in '97. I mean, we started with the videos released, we sold a shitload of videos, and then we started our team in '97, first year with Brian Swank and the famed now Brian Deegan.
Yeah.
And that was the year that we won the LA Supercross with Brian Deegan when he did the Ghost Ride.
Yep.
The infamous Ghost Ride, which I do own that bike. And the team went on for about another 12 years or so, and that article goes through all the years and all the different riders that rode for us.
Awesome. I just remember I was up at Mammoth racing a motocross. I was up at the Mammoth motocross at some time, and this was kind of in the era of the crusty guys, and I knew that Jeremy was shooting a video like Steel Roots, because I was in the industry. I kind of knew all this stuff was sort of going on, and I remember
that was after us.
Because you guys did a video premiere up at Mammoth, correct?
Yeah. Do you remember who the host was?
No.
Who the announcer was?
Larry Naston.
He announced the wet T-shirt contest.
No, it wasn't Larry Naston, was it?
No, it starts with a J.
Jay Middleton?
No.
Jay.
Although he was there, but no, Hollywood.
Oh, Jim.
You kidding me? Doesn't it make sense?
Yeah.
That Hollywood be the host and the announcer for the topless.
It wasn't supposed to start out like that, but it got there, I'm sure.
It did get there because Jim Hawley was the announcer, and of course he was egging it on and dumping beers and drinks all over the girls' wet T-shirts, and man, what a party that was! And I remember all these kids. I was just opening the back door for all these underagers because it was 21 plus, and
Yep.
my band played at that also.
Yeah, I went to sleep because I raced the next day.
You missed it, man. That was.
I knew about it. I knew it was happening.
That was a rager. I mean, and that was in, that was 96.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was way different times. And, our video was the third to come out, or first of three, right? It was Moto Triple X, Krusty's, and Terra Firma.
Terra Firma, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, my buddy Chris Holtner shot the Terra Firma ones. And,
so, yeah, those were the first three videos to come out. So, we sold it. We were the only ones that took all of our money and started a race team. So,
hey, I think the record companies took all the Krusty money.
I don't think so.
No, they took some. I knew because they lived like literally where I'm at right now. A lot of those guys were shacked up in a house like over in the next neighborhood. And I jumped bikes down at Sheep Hills with those guys, and I'd ridden with Zabo and Pine Man and a couple of those guys at different times. And Larry the Leg Breaker came to my house looking for those guys because somehow they knew I had these stupid videos because we used to make dumb videos. I show you sometime. We used to make videos of us doing kind of stupid stuff. I had a half pipe in my backyard. I used to ride a CR60 on it, and these guys, because I knew the guy, I knew Carrie Hart a little bit and different things, and they heard that I had these videos, and so they talked to me about getting the videos. But there's a lot of my friends doing really stupid stuff in there, and I'm like, I'm not comfortable giving this stuff to you. So, well, evidently when all this stuff was going on, Larry the Leg Breaker or his guys went and got a lot of their contacts and stuff and started visiting people that knew, because they were trying to find like Dana and a couple different guys. They were running around looking for these guys. It was interesting times.
Yeah. Well, John Freeman lives like a few miles from me, and I meet up with him once in a while. We hang out or go for a bike ride, or I'll ride my Saron over to his house and do a drop by or whatever.
Yeah.
We'll go get some food or. So, we've always been cool with all the Krusty guys. I mean, rest in peace, Bubba, because Bubba was the coolest Krusty to me. He was always down, but enough about Krusty. We're talking about Moto Triple X here.
Well, I just remember just the thought of taking that snowboard video culture and that punk rock culture and putting it into video and just how it, like now, like kind of what people are doing like with their Instagram or TikTok channels and stuff like that. That's the ones that are really booming. Like Carson Brown. It like reminds me of that kind of like, hey, I'm gonna just do what I love doing, and I'm gonna go out and do it to 10 tenths. I have a lot of skill. I have these talents, and I'm gonna put them into something, and you guys put that onto videotape, and just it was just punching you in the face with all the stuff that I think all of us wanted to do.
Yeah, but it's similar because look, I make this comparison because now all the footage that you do, which is what we used to work hard for and travel and go get all this footage and put it all together to edit and get the writers organized and do all this stuff. And, it was a lot of work. You spend 2 years putting a video together and then put it out and sell it and hope to make some money. And nowadays, like all that footage, and there's killer like helicopter and drone footage. And Colby Raha just put out a new like 15-minute edit that looks like, some like $30,000 to $50,000 spent on the edit, but it just goes onto YouTube for free.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like when you work on a record. You work on a record, you spend all these time writing a song, you argue, you fucking deal with your bandmates, go through all the headaches, you go into the studio, you work hard, you bust ass, you spend all this money, and then you put your music out and it's free. And so you're like, And it's like, what the fuck? So I always
Yeah.
make the comparison, like, it's like you develop a Snickers bar and you put it in Ralph's and everyone just walks in and takes it. And, the free Snickers.
I was always told the internet will drive the price of everything down to zero. And it really has. I mean, I'm not going to say that I didn't, lay my cassette tape recorder on top of my clock radio and push record when I was listening to KXLU and they played Punk Hour.
That was the killer way of doing it. But
Yeah.
you couldn't just put it on for free for everyone to share it.
Yeah. No, I mean, the music industry has just been kind of devastated, and then it's gone back to like live shows. I guess that's where everybody's making their money.
Yeah, because people don't realize, like, say with Apple, like you buy a song for $1, right? The breakdown that you get, it's pathetic. So you take the $1, Apple takes 50% of that, so that's 50 cents to them. Then the other 50 cents goes to your label. Then they split that with the band, so the label takes a quarter, and if you got 5 people in the band, everyone gets a nickel.
Yeah.
So, and then Spotify or whatever is 10 times worse, like you don't even get like a tenth of a penny for every time it plays. Like, so, that's why like Taylor Swift back in the day, like pulled her music off Spotify. I don't know if it's back on there or not, but fuck Spotify. They're worth billions of dollars and they just rape the artists.
Yeah, it's
that's a whole other. That's not really.
It's not tech. It's not motorcycles and motorcycle related products.
It is.
Well, I'm glad that you took all that cash that you made from your videos and invested it back into running a professional motocross team that kind of did things their own way, because I remember you guys having shows in the pits and you guys are doing your own sort of thing. And I know the AMA loved you. They seemed like that they liked what you guys were not one bit.
Yeah, they did us, but that was fun because we got in trouble every weekend.
Yeah.
Like every weekend we were in trouble. The AMA hated us, the promoters hated us, but we ended up being so successful, which Racer X once called us the most successful privateer team ever. Which
you guys busted open the doors even for teams like JGR. What you guys did allowed them to be able to bring in their truck and their hot dog guy and what it's like hey, that fan interaction, when you had. And it's like everybody wants the everything to be a little bit more professional, but at the same time, you look at the success of like these things like Warped Tours and stuff like that are getting way more people than Supercross, and you guys are bringing a little bit of that there, and I think some people resonated with.
Yeah, and you look at like our little punk rock team by 2 punk rock drummers and a snowboard filmmaker. It's like our team lasted for so long. We outlasted. Look at all the teams we outlasted. Like off the top of my head, Jeff Emmig's team, Great Western Bank team,
yeah,
Subway team, Jeremy McGrath's team. There's so many teams that came and gone. And we kept on going for 12 years or so.
The real question is, how much money did you lose doing that?
A lot.
There you go.
I mean, that's another topic because, like, with sponsors, as you know, I'm sure, because you've been around, like, the sponsors trickle money at you, and then, a rider gets hurt. We're not going to be able to pay. And, I mean, we had times where it was like either all of us had to put our own money in or the whole thing was going to fold. And it was frustrating sometimes, but I would never change it.
No.
I didn't make a bunch of money from it because all the money went back into the team.
That's why you got to sell these hats and T-shirts.
Yeah, that's why we need all these millions of people that are listening to you to go
MotoXXX.com.
Yeah, and fucking buy something.
Yeah. Well, Jordan, I wanna say thanks for coming on the show. I will wring the neck on that CR125 for you one of these days. We'll see if we can get it jetted out.
Absolutely.
We should have a punk rock drummer and Jimmy gets to go riding thing, because I'd like to tell everybody that I got to ride with you cool guys. You know, the cool thing is you guys didn't cool guy me. even when I went to your stupid shows. Yeah, I got to hang out. Yeah, I know it was fun. I got kicked out. I got kicked out of one of them. I don't even remember which one it was.
I don't know why I'm flashing back on this, but I remember, how's this for a combination? We played the Roxy in Hollywood once, and Brian Deegan and Mike Brown came to the show, and they were both in the pit together, like mixing that training, you know.
Training.
So, yeah, training. They said it was training.
Yeah, it can be training. I mean, you're getting a physical workout, and you're trying not to get knocked on your ass.
We had all those guys coming out to our shows, and it was just fun, like,
yeah,
you know, promoting the band through motocross, which is what I just fully did and connected with everyone, and was so different. The music was so fresh to everybody, and punk rock hadn't really hit the moto scene yet. And then next thing you know, Jeremy McGrath has piercings and blue hair. You know, like,
yeah, you see, you wrecked it. It could have been professional, and then that happened.
It was a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun. And, you know, I'm proud to still be carrying the Moto Triple X flag as the sole owner of it. And, you know, I'm stoked. So
hey,
I appreciate anybody that goes and picks up a T-shirt, a hat, a sticker, whatever.
Yeah, cool. Well, right on, Jordan. Like I said, thanks a lot. I think I'm going to, any Nora 500 updates. So this is this other event I work on. I'm gonna hang up on you because that'd be the most punk rock thing to do right now.
It would be?
Yeah, wouldn't it? He wins. I warned him and he did it for me. Jordan Burns, everybody, the former drummer of Strung Out, the owner of Moto Triple X, always been a good friend of mine. We used to, the most fun times was to hang out with Jordan up in the press booth back when I worked in the press booth, because everybody, I went to races as a fan, number one. And then when we were at the magazine, we kind of wanted to cover more of the machinery more than the people. I didn't care about the riders too much because they're all a bunch of head cases. I know from experience. But it was pretty cool to hang out with some of those guys up in the press booth because they were, just huge fans. They were stoked to be there, and they were a little bit wild. So pretty cool. So Michael Frederick says, any Nora 500 updates? I'm actually leaving to go down there to verify the road books. The updates are, it looks like a really awesome course. I'm excited to go down there and ride it. I wish that I could tell you more about it, but until I go and ride it, I can't. But I suspect it's going to be a really good, fun course. And to all you donkeys that are out there going, the Nora 1000 is too many days. Well, that's why we're bringing bikes back to the 500. If you want to, I can't do rally, it's too hard, there's no rally races and no professional. Yeah, there is. There's the Nora 500. Go do the Nora 500. If you're worried about doing rally and you want to just do it on a GPS line, we made a GPS class because so many guys said, I don't really want to do the road book. I want to do it like the GPS, like the old days. Well, we made a class for you. Sign up for it and do it, and then maybe we'll bring that to the 1,000 so you can go do it on a GPS line. And we're really looking for your safety using the Stella unit to beep at you when something dangerous comes. And Coco Nudie says, if you were to use an RTX 5090, what would you suggest? Take 2K monitor or 4K monitor? Well, Coco, with that, I'm going to have to say this is the end of Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. Episode number 250, I think it's 8, I believe. I want to thank everybody for joining in, all 21 million, billion followers that we have on this show. Share it with a friend. This episode would definitely be a lot better in a podcast format because who wants to look at this sad face for an hour while I talk to Jordan Birds? Thanks for coming on to the show. And I didn't release any YZ450 information I wasn't supposed to. Thanks to Yamaha, thanks to Bulletproof Designs, thanks to Moto Triple X. Go get a hat like this one. Although this one's, I stole it right off the owner's head. So with that, I'm gonna go out to dinner with my wife. So we will see you out in the trail. Cheers, everybody. Now I gotta figure out how to shut this